to the one, the only Roto Hackers podcast. We are the unauthorized reporters of fantasy football. My name is A.J. Herschel, the kid. I'm here with Judah Buddha, who has returned, and it's Jared. Man, I need to stop using my throat before I do stuff like that. And we are back on the podcast once again every Tuesday night. And gentlemen, I would start by asking how are your fantasy spoils this week, but Judah Buddha, we talked. Jared and I talked about we had heard rumors whether you were in Washington or roping grizzly bears. So can you set the record straight for us, please? What went on while you were gone?
Well, it's a long story. I can't get into it tonight. There's a lot of hush-hush deal-making going on, making the baseball sausage and stuff like that, it's serious business. I can't confirm or deny that I am the interim coach of the Washington
Your name card
Wizards.
says former interim head coach of the Redskins.
Okay, spoiler alert. I'm not the head coach. But the Washington Wizards, though, are now looking for a coach.
Really?
What
I
happened?
just made that up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
I was gonna say, what happened to their
Weren't
coach?
that bad?
Actually, it's the Grizzlies.
The Redskins fired Jay Gruden so hard that it also fired the Wizards coach too. It's like the old joke of like, I'm gonna hit you so hard that you're like,
Yep.
your great grandma feels it or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they fired him so hard.
Fire you so hard. An NBA
Your city's basketball coach is gonna get fired too. It's like the most roundabout, lame joke.
All righty then.
So was it Grizzly
I'm
Bears
back.
or was it the Redskins? Which was it?
Listen, a little bit of both. Some of
Okay.
the football players, Grizzlies. It's Grizzly. It's Grizzly. I got nothing, but I will say that the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. I'm back. Da-na-na-na-na. You guys can't get rid of me that fast.
Sounds good. Anyway, so otherwise, Jared, you haven't spoken much. How were your fantasy spoils? Did you get that 17-0 week finally?
I did not. I don't think no. It's not happening. Like that 16-1 week, which should have been 17-0 if I'd have made the right play. That was. I'll probably never have another week like that. I went 11-6, which I'll take. But Judah actually had close to a perfect week this week.
I thought that I was going to have a perfect week because I was projected. One game I was projected to. The only game because I didn't. So I set my lineup on Thursday, and then I kind of went off the grid. I like every now and then was able to barely check because Yahoo barely works when you have. If you don't have full bars, man, Yahoo is so finicky.
Yeah.
So, and at one point in Jared's league, I put Disley in for Kittle because I didn't know if Kittle was going to play for sure, if he was going to play hurt. Or
I did the same thing in a league. I benched him for somebody else. I think I did it in 2 leagues, and one of them, like it didn't affect things in either one. But
well,
still.
I ended up winning in that league, but Disley was a fat 0 for me. Like it's so funny. Like I should have benched Disley.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
Yeah.
Might be out for the year.
Yeah, he's done for the year. He tore his Achilles.
Yeah. I saw that recently. But so I looked. Finally, we got back from camping. I found some internet.
Camping?
I looked. Yeah,
Camping?
I mean, I got back from
camping for good bears?
He meant like delayed training camp.
Okay.
He meant like this week's game was delayed training camp
It
for
was,
him.
my training camp.
Yeah, that was strange because I didn't see you on the sideline in Washington this week.
But anyways, I looked and saw that the only league I was losing, projected to lose by 3 points, or no, 1 point. And I didn't have anybody in for my running back position. Because it was like a waiver wire thing or something, Saturday morning waiver wire, I'd put in for Snell. So I put Snell in. He ended up getting me 0, but I ended up winning that league.
Oh, wow.
The 2 I lost. If I had been, let me ask you guys a question. Did you guys know that Hill was going to play?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. See, the 2 I lost, I had Hill on my bench.
Oh, you should have sent him a question to us.
Well, I was in training camp.
Okay.
There was a heavy, gag order. Secretive. Anyway, so
what he means is he was only allowed 1 phone call.
Of course. See, Judah Buddha speaks and Jared translates. That's how it's going to work here from now on, apparently.
That's typically all right. But anyways, that's enough about me. Let's get to the news.
And starting off, I think kind of the 2 biggest ones, which don't necessarily correlate as much to individual lineups, but Marcus Peters has gone to Baltimore. Jalen Ramsey's gone to the Rams. What do you guys think this means for especially number 1 wide receivers who are playing against them? Because we've seen people get shut down by Xavier Rhodes, by Marcus Lattimore. How do you think this makes everything against the Rams defense and as well the Ravens defense stack up? Jared, you want to start us?
Sure. The Ravens, I don't know. Marcus Peters, I don't know how much that makes a difference. I mean, they've still got Jimmy Smith coming back. I think he's not back yet. So I would say, I mean, by the time they, kind of get healthy and both of them, gel, I would say it's going to boost the Ravens defense. I would say pretty significantly, especially with Jimmy Smith. I mean, I think that's really more.
Jimmy Smith's coming back.
I think so. As
far as I know.
Yeah.
This week.
I don't know what the timetable is. I'll have to check on that while we're doing this, but
you keep talking. I'll check on it.
Okay. Thank you. And, so yeah, I don't know what the timetable is, but yeah, he's still not back yet. So you put the 2 of those together, and that's going to help. I mean, the Ravens' pass defense, hasn't been that great. They've given up some points through the air. So if they can kind of get back to the Ravens defense that we've kind of known, when you put that together with an offense that. It's still more of a running offense, but Lamar Jackson has some ability to throw now. Then who knows? So the Rams, yeah, man, I don't know what's going on with the Rams, but I was thinking about that, like their playoff matchup, the first round of the playoffs is the Cowboys week 15, and so I've got Dak in a bunch of leagues, and so I'm like, maybe I should be trying to sell on Dak between. The way he's looking, between Amari Cooper staying hurt most of the time, and then now adding Jalen Ramsey to that Los Angeles defense. So yeah, it's I think it changes things a little bit for if you're playing those teams, because I mean at this point in the season you're kind of starting to see like, okay, what's this defense like? Who's coming up for them? But trades can change the landscape a good bit.
It can change it for good or bad. I feel like it could be. I think at least in the immediate, it is probably going to hurt the Rams more than it's going to help. I'm looking at their schedule, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, they're playing the Falcons. I don't know. I mean, you're going to shut down Julio more than he's already been shut down.
Julio hasn't had a bad year necessarily.
He's had a bad last couple of weeks. The Bengals,
yeah, right.
The Steelers, it worries me for Juju, but I mean, could I be more worried? The Bears, shut down Robinson if you got a lot of Robinson. The Ravens, I mean, he's not going to do anything to stop the Ravens. I think in general, like he's always been really good against like some of the like fast, speedy guys in the past, and and just usually, and he hasn't. Has he? Help me remember. Has he been like as shut down as someone like Lattimore?
I mean, he's still kind of got that billing, but I don't think he's. I mean, even Lattimore was terrible
For the first few weeks.
until the Cowboys game, and then all of a sudden he just turned it on. So I don't know that Jalen Ramsey. I mean, Jalen Ramsey just hasn't played that much this year, so I don't know that we've really gotten much of a chance to
I'm
see.
just thinking back to last year.
Yeah,
last year he was pretty shut down.
I think last year he was pretty good, but that Jaguars defense, I'd have to go back and look because the Jaguars defense as a whole didn't do that well, and so I don't remember what he specifically did. Real quick though, I just wanted to give props to AJ's little graphic here, Jalen Ramsey. I think that needed some attention there. So
Thank you.
Sure.
That was the first thing I thought of when I heard he got traded.
High quality.
Anyway, we have a question from the RAG Evolution, or maybe it's RAG Evolution. I don't know. My apologies if I'm saying it wrong. Thanks for the question. I have Coleman and Breda on the 49ers. Who would you rather start? Judah Buddha, let's start with you.
Coleman and Breda, I don't know. I have the same. I just roll a dice. Flip
That's
a
it?
coin.
Just roll the dice?
Flip a coin. Like here's the thing: is Breda's going to get you. Like he'll probably break off a long one. He'll get a lot of the. Who are they playing this week? They're playing. They're playing a tough team. They're playing. Who are they playing?
49ers are playing they're playing the Redskins this week.
Oh no, they're playing. Like either one of them is going to do good. Both of them will probably do well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Coleman has been a little bit disappointing too. So. They'll be equal.
Coleman for me. Like since he's been back, since he's been healthy, they've kind of given him the bulk of carries. Breda's still playing well. I mean, Breda. I picked him up. Some people dropped him, and I picked him up. But I mean, Coleman's gotten 16 carries, 18 carries each of the past 2 weeks. Touchdown in each game.
He's done very little with what he's got, though.
Well, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, he's getting carries. He's getting carries. 15.7 points 2 weeks ago, 13.1 last week, and I mean, it was the Rams. The Rams. And we got Aaron Donald and some guys up front. You look at this week. Actually, you look at the next several weeks. They've got Washington, Carolina, Arizona, Seattle, Arizona again. Green Bay.
Would you be opposed to playing both? Like put one in your flex?
Especially not this week. I would be more than willing to put both of them in there this week. I mean, it's Washington. Play both. It's kind of like some of those games where I was like, when Damian Williams was out, and I was like, yeah, start Darrell Williams and LaShawn McCoy both. Of course, now that Damian Williams is back, the Chiefs' backfield is just kind of a mess. But So for me, this would be one of those weeks where I would not think twice about starting Coleman and Breda both, unless you've got. I mean, don't start him over. Let's see. Well, McCaffrey's on a bye. But I mean, like if you've got Chubb's on a bye, I'm just thinking of like star players that you wouldn't start him over. But there's a lot of guys on bye this week. James Conner. He's on bye too, right? Yeah. So, start them both if you don't somehow have a couple of stars, that aren't on bye.
And
he also says he has Barkley. He has Saquon Barkley also. So
I'm not convinced that Barkley's going to play. I'm not convinced he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If Barkley plays, you don't sit him. Mm-hmm. If you need two running backs in a flex, I mean, you could put Barkley, Coleman, and Breda in. And if he doesn't, then you roll with those. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll both do well against Washington.
Mm-hmm. So let's assume Barkley does play this week. If you had to rank them from 1 to 3 in orders of how you would start them, how would you do that?
You want to go first, Judah, or you want me to?
I mean, I think what we said, for me, it's Barkley.
He has Marlon Mack also.
Oh, I'd play Marlon Mack.
Let's see. Who do the Colts play this week? They've got Houston.
Houston.
Ooh.
Man, that's kind of a tough one. Let's see. Well, the Giants have Arizona. So if Barkley plays, you are playing Saquon Barkley. And then I'd go with Coleman, Mac, or Breida. I mean, I think it could be a game where, Breida got 13 touches last week.
So funny. And I saw him play against the Browns, and he was dynamic.
Yeah. I think the thing, though, is just like, and he got some passing, he only had 36 rushing yards. So, most of the points he got was on receptions, but that's kind of a tough one. You're going to have the volume with Mac, just guaranteed. So it might be. It's
Saquon, Mac, and then flip a coin for the other two.
For me, I think it's Saquon, Coleman, because I think Coleman's just. Washington's defense doesn't scare me. So I think that's just the better defensive matchup. I could see a scenario where Houston gets out on the Colts or something, and they're not able to run Mac the way they want to or something. So for me, it's Saquon, Coleman, probably Mac for the volume, I guess.
All right, thanks for the question, Mr. RAG Evolution. Thomas H has said, so I guess maybe I shouldn't have dropped Stephon Diggs 2 weeks ago, huh? Oops. Itchy trigger finger. Oh.
Wait, I thought he asked us that question last week, and we were like, or somebody did, and
somebody else did, yeah.
Oh, maybe it's somebody else, but somebody asked us that question, and I remember specifically saying, like,
don't drop him
if for no other reason than the fact that he might get traded. Plus, he's got the Eagles coming up this week. So, and I even recommended starting Kirk Cousins.
You did,
and that would have worked out well for people if they did that. So,
I did. That worked out.
I may not do that again this season because that was purely because it was the Eagles. But
very true. Yes.
Well, that is a good segment to talk about. That's a good segue to talk about the week.
Yes, very true. So,
anything stand out for you guys?
Well, since you brought it up, do you want to go ahead and start us off? How'd your Redskins do?
Probably not me because I didn't see anything.
You didn't get to see it.
Okay.
Actually, I did see last night's game. I saw the whole thing, and I have to say, I would be trying to sell Aaron Jones.
Do it. There it is.
I'm a little worried about Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
AJ and I have been high on Jamal Williams for a long time, and he just has a certain amount of well, we've been talking about him ever since he was a rookie.
Yeah.
And he just has so much burst that it's hard to get, and he's such a good pass blocker. He just has like this natural football sense about him that the coaches love. They're not getting away from him, and so if Aaron Jones isn't used heavily in the pass game, I don't know.
Yeah. I only have one share of Aaron Jones. Unfortunately, it's in my $250 league. So that's painful. I have tried to get rid of him for a while, and I can't get like decent value. But I started looking at Williams. I actually picked up Williams in some leagues.
Yeah, you picked him up early, I think.
I think I had him at one point, but now I've only got him in like one. But I picked him up because he was having, so they had said that they wanted it to basically make it an even split with him. And Jones, he had 11.6 points in week 2, 9.6 in week 3. Then
he got hurt.
And then he got hurt. And so then I was
concussion.
Yeah, he took a bad hit. And so, but I was going to pick him back up at some point, and now it may be difficult because of the way he blew up last night. But I did start him in one. I had one spot this week where I needed a running back. Everybody was on bye, and then like Adrian Peterson was on off the waiver wire. So it was slim pickings. I'm like, yeah, he's going to come back. The Lions are pretty weak, and he, blew up. So I'm glad I did get him in that
points
in that one league. But I would be worried about Aaron Jones. I would also be worried about the entire Chargers offense right now.
Ooh, yep.
Except maybe Hunter Henry, who had 2 touchdowns and like 99 yards. And that was, I was fortunate too with him. Like I picked him up, like I've got him in like 8 or 9 leagues now because I just picked him up early before he was coming back. So now I've got like 2 or 3 tight ends on some of my rosters. But yeah, man, the Chargers, I don't know how they look this bad. Phillip Rivers just looks terrible. He looks like Brett Favre waited like 3 years out of retirement and then came back in.
Again.
Again, yeah. It was just so bad. So I don't know about the Chargers, but yeah, I add like basically all Chargers not named Hunter Henry to the worry list. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think it was kind of just resonating with the fact that if you had told me last week that the Falcons would have lost to the Cardinals by 1 point, if you had told me that last year, I would have been like, you've got to be kidding me, right? And they still lost. And Atlanta's offense is doing quote unquote well. I mean, they're scoring points. They're putting points on the board. Ridley's not having a bad year. Julio's been doing all right. Devontae Freeman's getting better. So it's almost like their fantasy value is going up while their team value is going down. It's almost completely contradictory. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Teams have been shutting Julio down. And they're just not going to him as much. He had I think he had 11 targets last week.
Well, Matt Ryan has always loved. There's 2 things going on. One, the Falcons can't stop anyone. They went 10 straight possessions allowing points until they kind of got it together in the second half of that game with the Cardinals. But what's happened this year is Matt Ryan always preferred to throw more to his tight end. He just used to have he used to have Tony Gonzalez. And then when Tony Gonzalez went away, he had he went from having one of the best tight ends in the league to having one of the worst tight ends in the league because they tried to just not really replace him. They just tried to go with Levine Toilolo and some other guys. And then they drafted Austin Hooper. And, as we've said, tight ends in their first year don't really do much. Hooper improved in his second year. And then now, he's probably like tight end 1 right now, right?
I mean, right now he's tight end 1.
Yeah. So I don't think that's a fluke. I think that's gonna keep going. The crappy part, for them is I would probably be trying to trade for Austin Hooper in a ton of leagues but the problem is again, week 15, where I've got a ton of teams that are, doing pretty well, 6-0, 4-2, 5-1, that they're probably going to make the playoffs. And so I, at some point we'll start thinking more towards the playoffs. Well, the Falcons have the 49ers in the first round of the playoffs. So they've got some big tough guys up front. I don't know how well that's gonna that matchup's gonna work out for Hooper in that game. But yeah, man, he's just tearing it up so far.
We have a question in the comments from Two Visions. Sorry, it took us a little bit to get your question, but thanks for tuning in. Is it worth picking up N'Keal Harry and Jay Ajayi? So I'm going to assume you're in a really, really deep league because Ajayi isn't even on a team yet.
No, but I mean, he's asking, is it worth it? Because both these guys could become fantasy relevant.
Well, you already have an opinion. You want to keep going?
I mean, N'Keal Harry is coming. He doesn't. But see, here's the thing about N'Keal Harry. I think he still has 2 weeks on IR, and he will be coming back, but not till week 9, I think. And I don't. I mean, they are struggling. The Patriots are struggling with their wide receivers staying healthy. He might get worked in, but I mean, it'd be boom or bust like all the other wide receivers except for not named Edelman in the Patriots squad. I've always liked Ajayi, but I just don't know where he would fit in. I mean,
Mhm.
anywhere he goes, he's going to be worked in slowly in some kind of committee. So I don't
Interesting.
know.
What do you
I heard somewhere though, if you really if you have Patriots, like diehard Patriot fans
Hmm.
in your league, pick up N'Keal Harry. The minute the moment he blows up, or even right before he comes, that week he comes back, just add him on as like a tasty add-on.
Trade him to
And
people in the IR slot. There you go.
from the IR slot.
Yes, keep him in the IR slot. That way they have to drop someone when he comes back.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that.
Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If it's a deep league, I had a guy asking me a question today, like Deontay Johnson or N'Keal Harry, and I said, I mean, for me, it's Deontay Johnson because as shaky as the Steelers' offense looks, at least they'll get Mason Rudolph back, I assume, after the bye, and he's had Deontay Johnson's had a couple of down weeks without Mason Rudolph in there, but he was doing okay. I mean, the best of any of the Steelers receivers anyway. While Mason Rudolph was in there, he seemed to be more comfortable with him than Juju, maybe just because of the matchups or whatever. But, so, I mean, you've got a guy who's kind of the uncontested number 2 option in some ways, maybe the, 1A or 1B option in Pittsburgh, the way they're kind of ignoring Juju in certain games. So, I mean, like with a choice like that, I think you got to go with him over Harry because, he's a rookie. He's playing for the Patriots who like to spread the ball around to whoever's open. And, he's coming off an injury and you don't know, it's probably going to take a while before he's probably going to be slowly worked back in. And then even at his peak, what's his output going to be? I have no idea, but as a rookie, I don't think you can expect that much. So, I think there's probably a better option than him out there, I guess. I mean, I don't know what the guy's waiver wire looks like, but and then Ajayi. No, I mean, unless you're in like a 16, 18 team league, I can't see how you would, really justify rostering Ajayi.
Yeah. I think it's a good moment. Like one thing I've had to learn in fantasy football, and I don't know that I have, but I've learned the words. I don't know if I've learned to implement it, and that is, don't get the waiver wire fever where you feel like you can win your league by getting these obscure guys that will blow up. Focus on building just a trustworthy squad and because you start just flipping all these guys and putting hope in like this guy's going to blow up, and you start losing focus and just trust. I heard one guy, Greg Cosell, actually, he said, dance with the one who brung you. Just keep your main guys in there, of course, unless it's a bye week. Trust your main guys, even if it's like if you believed in them, trust your main guys, and don't get distracted by these like shiny new people on the waiver wire that may or may not be these guys won't be league winners, I don't think.
I think kind of the thing here is I think part of it also depends on where you have most position depth as well. I think if you're stocking a lot of wide receivers, then you might want to go Ajayi. If you're stocking a lot of running backs, then you might want to go N'Keal Harry. The part of the problem is that like Ajayi, the thing with him, he's not even on a team yet. He's just working out for people right now. So if you're looking for someone to pick up for the future, I mean, N'Keal Harry could end up working out, especially if Edelman and Gordon keep having problems and Dorsett keeps having problems. But Ajayi, it all hinges on whether or not he's on a team. Even though, granted, when he is on the team, like I've loved Ajayi ever since he came out of Boise State, but he has been so injury prone every single year. And his big year was with Philadelphia. When in Philly, Ajayi fits so well. He got the goal line carries. He scored touchdowns. And he could be someone I could say, yeah, you could possibly viably pick him up for fantasy, even though it was more later down the line headed toward the playoffs. But he's not on a team. That's what makes it hard for me to say Ajayi. As much as I love him, he's just not even signed on yet as of right now. That's what makes me worried.
Yeah.
And I think kind of one of the big things this year is that we're getting into the time when the waiver wire is getting really, really hard to find people, especially. So I have actually a couple questions for you guys instead about people who, if you're reaching for someone on the waiver wire, are these people that you can actually drop now? So we'll start with this one. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be shady dealings going on over in Kansas City because their running back situation is super confusing.
Shady dealings, another good one.
So what do you guys think? LaShawn McCoy, the Chiefs running game was really deflated last week. He technically outtouched Damian Williams. Is
Damian Williams only had 2 touches.
Exactly. So is Shady the number 1 now? Are any of the Chiefs running backs startable? What do you guys think?
Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, we just have to remind everyone, Andy Reid hates running the ball. Hates running the ball. He never wants to run the ball.
What?
Have you seen the Chiefs offense? There's a reason why they cycle out running backs every other year in Kansas City.
I know he got going with Kareem Hunt finally, but even at the beginning of
what are you talking about? Jamal Williams? I mean, not
Jamal Charles.
Jamal Charles
got injured, and then they moved on to Charkandrick West.
Which he loves running the ball.
He loves switching out running backs, but
no, he doesn't. He always goes with one guy.
Kansas City's offense has had like 7 running backs in the last 3 years.
Well, no, that's just because they keep getting hurt. When he has somebody healthy, he sticks with them for the most part.
They have Patrick Mahomes. They're still a pass-first offense. When Alex Smith, especially, was in Kansas City, he was putting up numbers like he'd never had before.
They're pass-first, but it depends a lot on the play action. A lot of his scheme comes down to play action, and play action has a lot to do with running the ball.
True, he'll establish the run early, but then it's pass. He loves throwing the football. There's a reason why Patrick Mahomes was throwing it 40 times a game last year.
I don't know where you guys are getting this.
We're interrupting. Jared, continue.
Well, anyway, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, if he's got a guy, it can work out well, but he just always seems like he gets pass happy with it and doesn't stick with it. Maybe it goes, more to real game situations, rather than fantasy output. But I think that's, always kind of been one of the knocks on Andy Reid, and why he hasn't had more postseason success is that he tends to, get away from consistently, doing some of the things that got him there. So I don't know what's going to happen, because I mean, when you've got a Kareem Hunt there, you basically, you have to give him the ball. Well, now they've got Damian Williams, who we already had questions about being, is he really going to be a season-long true number 1 running back? LaShawn McCoy, is not the LaShawn McCoy of a few years ago. He's not a true number 1 running back. Darrell Williams, they're mixing him in. I have no idea what's going to happen with that situation, but maybe they trade for somebody, but I mean, their own run defense is so bad. If they were going to make a trade, they should probably do something there. So you can't drop McCoy or Damian Williams, especially if one of them got hurt, then I think a 2-man committee in Kansas City is not nearly as bad as a 3-man committee. But like right now, I've got Damian Williams in, I think, maybe 2 or 3 leagues, and I'm not planning on putting him in next week. I've got to kind of see how this settles out, or have a sort of a prove it game from him. And I think want the same thing from any one of those Chiefs running backs before I would put him in, and I would be reluctant to put him in period against a tough defense.
So would you not start any of them this week then?
I'm not going to. No, not after last week. I mean, they've got
last week they were behind after the first quarter. They got behind after the first quarter. They were trying to throw themselves out. They're trying to get themselves back in the game with
They were up 17-3 after the first quarter against Houston.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying after the first quarter, they started to lose. They were up, and they totally whittled the game away. I think Mahomes is hobbled. Don't going to go to the run game, and they're going to go with Shady. Shady's going to they're going to pound Shady to death. I don't know why would they do otherwise?
I hope so, because he's projected 4.89 on Yahoo right now.
I mean, projections.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at, okay, so they were up 17-3 after the first quarter. The Texans dropped 20 on them in the second quarter. I mean, that's just 23-17. I mean, you're down 6 points. So, there's no reason. It's not like they got behind by 3 touchdowns. It's not like, that's a valid reason for them to just abandon the running game. I think it's just. But
they didn't abandon the running game. Shady had what? Like, I forget what.
I thought that's what you just were basically saying, was that they went more to the pass because they were far behind.
Yeah, once they got behind, they did. They started trying like a touchdown behind. Like, they couldn't just run the ball.
You can being a touchdown behind doesn't have to change your offensive game plan. If you're 1 touchdown down and it's halftime, it doesn't matter. I mean, you don't need to start throwing the ball. So,
yeah, I get that, but I don't know. Like, I didn't watch the game. Did either of you guys watch the game?
No, I mean, it wasn't televised in my area, so I just saw highlights.
Reddit.
I don't think that's legal, but anyway. Thomas Heffron asked, can you put New England's defense in his tight end slot? I have one word for you. No.
Can you?
Unfortunately, no. You cannot. As well as they are performing, you can't put them in the tight end slot. I'm sorry.
I don't know why you would want to do that anyway. I mean, like they're so head and shoulders above all the other defenses. Like I don't know if he just lost Will Dissly or what at tight end, but there's a fair amount of solid tight end options out there. Whereas defense, like New England's just dominate in that area.
True. Two Visions, you are welcome for the feedback. Super deep league. We understand. So we get trying to play smart in case of injuries. That makes sense, especially in the case of New England's wide receivers. We'll get to your other question in 1 second because Thomas H. had a question right before. He said, speaking of Kareem Hunt, should Nick Chubb owners be worried when he comes back, or is Nick going to keep chubbing along? Thank you. I'm having a good pun day, so thanks for helping with that. Jude, you were about to say something. What do you think?
I'm a huge Chubb fan. I'm not trading him anywhere. He is a Lamborghini in the running back world. They're not going to replace him with, a real nice Mustang. They're going to stick with them. They're going to stick with the Lamborghini unless it breaks down. Unless he gets hurt. I'm sure Hunt will get like some passing downs or steal some but he's already getting vultured by, I don't even know his name. What's his name? Some other Hilliard. Yeah. He's already, had a few touchdowns vultured by Hilliard, and I think, yeah. So I mean, it's not like he does so well with every touch. I'm not worried at all.
Interesting. Jared, what do you think?
Same. Yeah, I'm not especially concerned about him. I was a little bit worried about Hunt at the start of the season, but after his injury and just as well as Chubb has played, I'm sure he'll come in and get some touches, but I can't imagine it turning into anything like what's going on in Green Bay or anything like that. So, if you have Chubb, I think if you're doing well in the season, and the farther it gets, and the more it looks like you're going to the playoffs, and you can afford to stash Hunt on your bench, which you probably need to pick him up, actually probably this week if you're going to do that, because otherwise people are going to be grabbing him as he comes back from his suspension. But I think if your team's doing well, you've got Chubb, and you look like you're headed towards the playoffs, I would, if it was me, I would stash Hunt, just like I have like Madison stashed with Cook.
Two Visions. Sorry. Here's your other question. He has one more. His wide receivers starters on a bye. Odell and Chris Godwin. I am with you in the Godwin boat. And he needs a flex for this week. Duke Williams, Jacoby Myers, or Demaryius Thomas. This is an interesting one. What do you guys think?
That is a pretty deep league.
Yeah.
So, let's see.
After we look up all of their names real quick.
I think Duke Williams he plays for. I'm a big proponent of Duke Williams this week. Now that who is it that left?
Zay Jones.
Zay Jones. Now that Zay Jones is not there, Duke Williams is he's a monster of a man coming in. I've seen a little bit of tape of him in college, but he's been in the league a couple of years now, or maybe he's a rookie. I can't remember. I saw some college tape of him. He just looks real big, does well with what he gets, and I think he could be a good addition. I mean, like between those people, probably you want to take the Patriots guy, but I just have a feeling about Duke Williams. He plays for the Bills.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting. Jared, what do you think?
Probably Duke Williams. Demaryius Thomas had a good game last week. I mean, really, all those guys had solid games last week.
Duke Williams didn't play last week.
Was it the week before?
Are you sure?
They were on bye
last week. Oh, well.
His
last game. Yeah.
His last game. Yeah. Sorry. So his last game was against Tennessee. He and Myers both had 4 targets. Duke Williams had 29 and a touchdown. I don't love a lot of that stuff, but you kind of look at who they're playing. Demaryius Thomas is up against the Patriots. So I don't know how well the Jets are going to move the ball. The positive thing there is he's not their number one receiver. I assume Gilmore is probably going to be on Robbie Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Demaryius could do something there. Jacoby Myers and the Patriots, you just never know. You never really know what you're going to get there. I'm struggling on this one because Duke Williams plays the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me. Play all your Bills.
Yeah, that might be a play all your Bills game. But at the same time, I think it might be like if he doesn't get a touchdown, he might not give you much of anything. So that is a really tough one. I'm inclined to put Jacoby Myers last just because the Patriots, you never know what you're going to get from them week to week. I'm almost though inclined to go with Demaryius, even though they're playing the Patriots. I think he's got a solid floor. I think he's probably got the most solid floor because they're going to have to throw the ball some, and it's probably not going to be to Robbie Anderson. So I could see Demaryius, absorbing some targets.
Yeah, I think kind of the big one here is that Duke Williams literally hadn't caught a pass before week 5 against Tennessee, and what he did do is he scored a touchdown. Demaryius Thomas in his first game there got 9 targets, which of course was not with Sam Darnold, but still. And like y'all are saying, Jacoby Myers is just in the Patriots offense, which you can never know. It's going to happen day in, day out. But I think the consistent thing is still that Edelman is still going to be the number one there. Josh Gordon looks like he's probably going to be okay. And so I think honestly for me, it'd probably be Williams, even though he's a bit touchdown dependent, then Demaryius Thomas because he's getting targets, then Jacoby Myers just because he's with the Patriots.
Yeah, and that would be the only thing I would, I guess, qualify it with is I hadn't checked on Gordon yet.
I think Gordon is still
he was okay. He was sidelined today.
Yeah, he didn't practice today.
But Dorsett's probably going to be back, and so it looks like Harry, may be in there too. We'll see. But
Harry, when does N'Keal Harry get back off of IR? I don't think it's definitely not this week.
I'm not sure when he's I think he was back at practice, but I'm not sure if when he's eligible.
I think I heard week 9, but I might be mishearing.
Let's see. He is, yeah. I'm just looking. Okay, yeah. Yeah, week 9 would be when he's coming back. So, if Gordon's out, that might factor into it too. I mean, I keep talking around this. I'm trying to like sort this out in my mind, like as we're going through, like, it's that little meme where you're looking at all the like the equations, and trying to figure it out. But like, just none of those guys are a great play. If Josh Gordon's out, then I think you can make a case for Jacoby.
Who do they play? They play the Jets.
They play the Jets. So it's Demaryius playing against the Patriots, and it's Jacoby playing against the Jets.
I think Demaryius is a clear no, wouldn't you think?
No, not for me. Just
against
because
the Patriots.
Because I mean, they've got to throw the ball to somebody.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily have to make a touchdown because the Patriots don't let people make touchdowns.
No, but I mean, with any of these guys, like anytime you're gambling on a lesser player getting a touchdown, the odds are probably, against you on that. I just like Demaryius just for the floor, the Patriots have a tough run defense. They're not going to be they're not going to be giving up a lot of yards on the ground. They're not going to give up the big play. So I could see some, several balls over the middle to Demaryius.
But I think look effort this if you can, AJ, but I think what's his name on the Patriots had quite a few targets last week.
What are you talking about?
The guy
Jacoby. I think
Jacoby Myers. He only had like 4 or 5.
Yeah, he just had 4 because I was looking it up. Okay. I was looking it up while we were looking. So that's the thing. I mean, if he had gotten more targets, he caught all 4 of his targets for 54 yards. I mean,
I saw him play. He looked great.
But prior to
who is that?
Yeah, but prior to that, in 6 games or in 5 games prior to that, he had 6 targets. So was that a breakout for him? Is he going to be a consistent part of the offense, or was that another kind of fluke game? And the next game he's not going to have targets. If you want to gamble on that with the Patriots, the way they do things with players, I don't want to do that though. For me,
wouldn't it be just easy to say, look, Demaryius is playing the Patriots, Jacoby is on the Patriots, and so you can't tell. Bills are playing Miami.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I mean, for me, going back to Duke Williams, he had 4 targets. He had a touchdown in that game, which was what saved him. And I know Zay Jones is gone, but that was his first game where he had any targets. And he caught all 4 for 29 yards. But I mean, it's really tough for me to
trust somebody like
that. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't expect anything resembling a big game from Demaryius, and I wouldn't expect a touchdown, but if he caught 5 balls for 70 yards, that wouldn't shock me, So, I think he's I think he's a high floor, low ceiling guy.
I've got a question for you guys.
Please.
Do the Patriots continue to be a 20 plus point, a fantasy point team going forward?
So since I have them in 7 leagues,
yes.
Are you talking about their team or their defense? Just want to clarify here.
The defense.
Oh, their defense. Okay.
Well, I mean, their team defense.
But you mean that as a fantasy option?
As a fantasy option.
Yeah.
Do they continue to give you as many points as a high-end quarterback?
Well, okay. So first of all, we got to look at they've had in 6 games. In 6 games, they've had 3 big ones where they've scored anywhere from 25 to 37 points. So those were Miami, Buffalo, and the Giants. Just really turnover prone, bad offenses. Okay. So the rest of the way, the Patriots have the Jets, the Browns, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Bills again. So here's the thing with the Patriots. I think they still keep giving you pretty much double digits most every week. They're gonna fall off and have some lesser games because some of these offense. I mean, they play Houston, Kansas City. Yeah. They're going to give you some lesser games. It's not going to be, you're not going to get that like 14-point floor every single week. But the thing about it is, like, if you're doing well with them, their fantasy playoff matchups are Cincinnati first and then Buffalo. So, I mean, they could legitimately turn in a couple more like 25 to 30 point defensive games in the fantasy playoffs for you. Mm-hmm. So no, I think they dip some during the regular season, but for their playoff matchups that they got, I would love to have them in every league for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I think they're going to be just absolutely incredible for the rest of the year, honestly, because I'm looking at their schedule and I think Jets, I mean, I think they'll probably, because I always look at teams and I see people like Will Fuller, especially, who hit 37 points in a game. I don't ever think they're going to match that the next game. I always project them to go lower. But the Patriots, I mean, they've got the Jets. I mean, they're getting Darnold back, but still, Cleveland is an absolute mess. Then they have Baltimore, is going to be a little bit more difficult. Philly could be difficult. Dallas, whenever they've played someone genuinely good, they have had a breakdown in the first half, especially. And even when we talk about Houston, their offensive line is absolutely horrible this year. And the only times they have been able to protect Deshaun Watson are against teams that don't have a fearsome front seven. I think they will have rougher games against teams like Philadelphia, I think, and Kansas City. But they still have Cincinnati, Buffalo, Cleveland. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a combination. Like, they are really good, but I mean, you look at the quarterbacks they've played. Well, they had Ben Roethlisberger in the first game, but then they had the Dolphins, Fitzpatrick, and I'm not sure if I think Rosen probably got in that game later. Then they had the Jets' third string quarterback, and then they had Josh Allen, who's turnover prone, and then they had whatever the Redskins are doing at quarterback. and then they had
Buddha, you were supposed to figure that out.
And then they had Daniel Jones last week, who, I think can be pretty good, but I mean, he's, he was making his second or third, maybe his third start. So they have been inflated by bad quarterbacks, but they get some more bad quarterbacks later this season. So it's not.
But what bad quarter? I don't see them getting a bunch of bad quarterbacks.
Okay, so they get, again, the first thing I would point to is their fantasy playoff matchups, where they get the Bengals. The Bengals offense is, they have no offensive line. Joe Mixon can't run the ball. Andy Dalton is back there.
But they might have AJ Green back. I mean, that could be a team that really scores a lot of points on them.
No. Stephon Gilmore will shut down AJ Green. Maybe if Andy Dalton's got time to throw the ball.
But you're talking about 10 weeks from now. Stephon Gilmore could be injured. Or I guess 9 weeks from now.
I mean, it's possible, but I mean, again, it's just kind of like what's most likely. I mean, even without him, I mean, the Patriots are still going to be good, and regardless, it's still going to be Andy Dalton. I mean, we saw what the Steelers did to him, and the Steelers defense is good, but it's not quite what the Patriots are. So that, and they scored 25 points at Buffalo. They had 5 sacks. 25 fantasy points at Buffalo. They allowed 10 points. They had 5 sacks and 4 INTs. That's on the road. That was when Josh Allen was playing at home.
Not to mention their touchdown too. They had a defensive touchdown.
Yeah. So, and so then they get him in Foxborough. So they are going to eat him alive. Look at the way Baker Mayfield's playing. Look at they get Cleveland. Look at the way Baker's playing.
I mean, Baker's playing bad, but he's not playing like Josh Allen level.
Well, I mean,
he scores a lot. He can score a lot. He's got
Nick Chubb scores a lot.
Yeah. That's true.
Baker's getting 1 touchdown a game. Nick Chubb scores a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, again, I think, AJ and I are both saying, we don't expect it to stay at the same level as these first 6 weeks, but
I think it falls off. I think it falls off tremendously.
Okay.
Whoa. Well, why do you say that?
Well, because everybody they've played has I think the combination is not just that they've played bad quarterbacks, but they've played teams that generally don't have a high win total in scoring total in their games. So you got a lot of like low scoring games anyways. Teams that don't score like the Bills. Well, the Bills are really the only good team. Who else did they play? Anybody like somewhat decent?
I mean, Pittsburgh had Roethlisberger
I mean, he was hurt or something, man. He was terrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, again, I don't disagree with you. I think
they're going to start. I mean, I think they're going to continue to get the INTs, maybe even get a touchdown, but like they're also going to get scored on a lot more. And in fantasy defense is the one thing that, even though I said earlier, the Patriots haven't they let like one touchdown so far. They're going to start having a lot more touchdowns scored on them is what I predict.
Yeah. I agree. I think, proportion, because they've had basically nothing scored against them to this point. So, in like the strictest sense, yeah, I think they will get scored on.
I think just the law of averages is going to catch up to them, if nothing else. Whether it's it easily could be an injury, whether they change the game plan a little bit to protect from injuries, preparing for the playoffs. I don't know. I don't think it's going to continue to be double digits the rest of the way. Maybe for fantasy playoffs, but that's too far for me to like really.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna have to reel that in because we got some questions. Also, Two Visions, thank you so much for subscribing. His wide receivers this week are DJ Chark and MJJ. Marvin Jones, that's my dude. Keep thinking about that flex. Hey, if you want to come back on Saturday, we'll be talking about stardom sit-ems too. If you've got some more questions for us, we'll be on at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Yeah. AV has a question for us. What?
Well, did he have a question about DJ Chark?
No, he said
no. He was.
Thanks. Those are his wide receivers for the week.
His question was about. Wasn't he the one about like Jacoby or?
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
Yep. AV. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think DJ Chark's gonna have a big week this week.
Oh yeah.
Are you saying it's Chark week?
More puns. We likes it. All right.
Hold on.
Oh.
Completely derailed him there.
There we go. I had to throw that. All right. AV's got a question for us. He has Kareem Hunt. Should he keep him? That's simple. What do you guys think? Well,
I mean, it depends on what else he has. Does he have Chubb? What do his running backs look like? What is his
waiver wire look
like?
Yeah.
Or what does his bench look like? I mean, if you have Devin Singletary and some other guys like that on your bench who are more likely to get touches right away, and you need room on your bench, I'd drop Hunt. If you don't have Chubb, I think it changes things if you have Chubb, right, Jared?
Oh, for me it would, yeah. I mean, you're getting to a point where I want to start handcuffing the backup running back to all my star guys because, it's just getting farther into the season. They're starting to get, they're taking more and more hits. So the hit total's just adding up and, just the law of averages of, we really haven't had, I'm about to jinx this, I'm sure, but, apart from, Saquon going down, who else have we really had in terms of like star running backs that have gone down? I know Gurley missed the game last week, but I mean, Gurley, on a week to week.
Is he even a star player anymore?
Right, exactly. Is he even a star player? And, I think to a certain extent, every week it's kind of like, is his arthritic knee going to flare up? So, so apart from like Saquon's been, kind of the one major injury that I can think of as far as, big time running backs. Those are going to happen unless it's just some fluke season. So I think the more you can start stashing, if you have the luxury of starting to stash backup guys, then that could be a league winner for you later on in the season. So
intriguing. Thomas H. Oh, AV also says he has Gurley, Fournette, and Sony Michel.
Yeah. So what I would say to that is you want to go out on the waiver wire and get what is his name?
For who?
For the backup for Gurley, the
Malcolm
rookie.
Brown.
Oh, Malcolm Brown.
No,
or
not
Daryl
Malcolm Brown.
Henderson.
Daryl Henderson.
If he's available.
Yeah, he's probably not. But actually, I think he's only owned in 60% of leagues.
Yeah, he's not in time.
He could be available in your league. I saw some clips of him. I didn't see the game, but I saw some clips of him, and he just looked dynamic out there. And coming into the league, he was up there, as top 5 of rookies. Like everybody expected him to be one of the guys up there with Jacobs, and he hasn't even gotten any play till now. So, and once he did, he was so explosive. He's got some hams on that man.
That's a new one. Thomas H has sent in a question about my Chicago Bears. Is David Montgomery officially a bust, or is he going to get going soon?
Say that 5 times fast.
Is he going to get going soon?
I have a question for you, Jared. If he has you have David Montgomery. Let's say you have David Montgomery. I don't know if you do. He gets going this week. He has a touchdown and 100 yards, but he's like completely split touches with Tyreek Cohen. Tariq, whatever. The human. What is it? The human
joystick.
Yes, I've never heard that except for you say that. But anyways,
go Aggies.
Do you go out and sell him, or do you kind of feel like okay, he's going to get going and this is it?
If someone would give you something,
like, would you trade him for? Would you trade him for Gurley?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Would you go a little lower? Or would you trade him for let's say someone like Devin Singletary, or or one of these running backs that may or may not get going?
I wouldn't trade him for Devin Singletary. I mean, Devin Singletary is just not getting the touches right now. He's just come back. I mean, Devin Singletary's points are a little bit misleading because I'm not saying he's not good. He's done really well on limited touches, but the fact that he's performed really well on limited touches doesn't necessarily mean that he will get more touches. I mean, football coaches are just stubborn. So, no, I wouldn't trade, David Montgomery for somebody like him. I would trade, Montgomery if I could get,
well, go ahead.
I was going to say if I could get a Tevin Coleman for him.
Okay, you take Tevin Coleman. How about what?
I said it. Yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Yeah.
What about like Carlos Hyde?
No, I don't trust Hyde. I mean, it's split. Deshaun likes to throw the ball more. I don't know what's going to happen there. That's probably not. I don't know. That might be like swapping out a quarter for 2 dimes and a nickel. I'm not sure if David Montgomery or Carlos Hyde's really going to be, if there's going to make that much of a difference.
Reeling this in though is to answer Thomas H's question. I'm assuming he has Montgomery. So is he going to get good soon? That's simple. What do y'all think?
He's going to have a good week.
Ouch.
I don't know that he's going to have a good week. I mean, it's New Orleans. I don't know what they're going to do against New Orleans. He's got New Orleans. He's got the Chargers next week. I think he could have easy. Yeah, I think he'll have a good week next week. But then he's at Philly, Detroit, the Rams. The Giants. I mean, he's going to sprinkle in, probably a few good weeks. But man, that the whole Bears offense. I just don't trust anybody involved with the Bears offense. I mean, he's got Montgomery's had 13.3 points in week 2. That was his high. He's been in single digits 3 out of 5 weeks, just barely got above 10 points in week 5.
That's in full point PPR too.
Well, this is half. So I guess
Half.
he's just maybe not getting receptions that much. So he's probably not getting much more in full.
I think he's only had like 2 receptions all season.
Yeah, that's been. I thought he would do better than what he's done. I thought he would have something similar to what Jordan Howard did last year. But I've only got him in one league, and if I could get a Coleman or something for him, I would be trying to move him.
Before we go, can we talk about waiver wire?
No,
Is waiver wire even something to talk about now? I mean, honestly, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, though. Like at this point, you're picking up guys who aren't as consistent as they previously were. So, Judah Buddha, who do you got? You obviously have someone.
Well, I already mentioned Henderson, but I think
and your Benny Snell pick of 0.0 is excellent last week. Just want to mention.
Well, yeah, but who got hurt? Connor got hurt again.
And
they're on a bye, but I'm saying Snell's going to get a lot more work. I would say who is the guy? Oh, Tate is still on the waiver wire in like 70% of leagues.
We're talking Auden Tate?
No. Well, he'd be a good pickup too. I think he's a beast.
Golden Tate.
But Golden Tate, man, he is. I forget what their schedule looks like, but it's not too bad. And he's the main guy now. Like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Sterling Shepard. I don't know.
Sterling Shepard's not necessarily coming back this week,
right? But I mean, like rest of season. I'm not sure Golden Tate's the main guy for that. I mean, for this week, he might be.
For this week, and maybe the next couple of weeks, he's going to be the main squeeze. You got a lot of injuries over there.
Mm-hmm.
Ingram and Shepard are both struggling with some.
Yeah, they could. It's kind of a wait and see because they could both be back, though. Like I mean, the whole Giants offense, like Ingram and Shepard, could both be back, and then Saquon Barkley could be back. Mm-hmm. So it's like almost basically like the Giants will have Daniel Jones and Golden Tate, and the rest is like TBD.
But I mean, when you're talking about the waiver wire, you're talking about someone free, and so. If you're talking about picking, I guess when I'm talking, like, I don't like going out and getting these, I do like, but I've tried to train myself against going out and picking up these guys like, who did the guy ask about before? I forgot. Those 2 guys that haven't even played, or one hasn't. Oh, N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
Like these are like prospects, but someone like Tate is playing. He's getting touches. He's getting targeted quite a bit, and he's immediately usable.
Yeah.
He is their slot receiver. Tate comes back. He's their X. Tate is always has been an amazing hands guy, slot receiver.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with another New York receiver.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with Robbie Anderson, who is only 60% owned. And so here's the thing with Robbie Anderson. Week 1, they played Buffalo, which is most people, and I would agree, but most of the analysts would say the Patriots and the Bills have the 2 best defenses this season.
Chicago, but continue.
So, Chicago too, yeah. So Robbie got 7 targets his first week, but he was up against, I think it's Leotis McKelvin. The Bills just have a good pass defense, so he didn't do much of anything there, but wasn't really expecting him to. And then week 2, he actually played with backups, and he still had 6 targets, 4 catches, 81 yards. Week 3 he was terrible against the Patriots. Week 5 he was terrible against Philadelphia with the 3rd string guy throwing to him. But Sam Darnold is back. Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold is about as valuable to the Jets as any quarterback is to their team right now, because the Jets don't have a backup even. They've got a 3rd string guy. So So Robbie Anderson had 8 targets, 5 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown, which is similar to the numbers he was putting up towards the end of the season last year. And so, he has been more of like a big play threat. And so, we didn't know for sure, what he was going to be when he came into a full season this year. Is he really going to develop into a consistent guy, or was that just sort of a fluky thing? Well, I think he can be a consistent guy. And here's the thing. This week they have the Patriots again. So he's probably going to do nothing again. But then look at the schedule after this. So they've got Jacksonville, which will now be without Ramsey. And then they have the Dolphins, the Giants, the Redskins, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Dolphins again.
Oh.
And then they have they get Baltimore in the first round of the playoffs, which would be a tough matchup, now if assuming Jimmy Graham's back and Marcus Peters. But I mean, if you just need a guy like rest of season to get you to the playoffs, like I think he can easily be like a consistent wide receiver too. And he's available in half my leagues, and he's available in about 40%. Exactly 40% overall.
Yeah, see, here's my one problem with that, because this is coming from a former Robbie Anderson owner. When I had Robbie Anderson last year, he was so inconsistent for me. Literally, it'd be 5, 12, 3, 2, 15, 7, 18, 1. So you actually think that – so you think he could actually be consistent now? You actually think he could actually find a place for himself in the Jets offense, I should say?
Well, because he – like towards the end of the season, he finally, and again, it was a small sample size. So we can't, trust it for sure. But
he did play in 14 games, I think, last year.
He did, but you gotta also understand too, he was operating with a rookie quarterback,
True.
And so those guys can take
not just a rookie quarterback. Also, it was uneven. Like Darnold got hurt. He was missing for like a couple, like a big chunk of games there during the year. It was up and down because of that too.
So I mean, a rookie quarterback can take a big jump like towards the end of the first season or their second season or whatever. So, I think it could have been sort of as much about, sort of him clicking with Darnold as anything else, because 3 of his last 4 games, and I'm going to take out the last game because it was at New England. And again, like I definitely would not recommend starting him against New England. I think he'll be a bust again this week, but 3 of his last 4 games, he had 76 yards and a touchdown, 96 yards and a touchdown, 140 yards and a touchdown. So, again, like you have to kind of consider all the factors. If all of a sudden, he was with a veteran quarterback and just started clicking, like, well, maybe that's a fluke. But I think you could possibly say, within reason, like maybe it was kind of tied to, his chemistry with Darnold and Darnold's development. And maybe he can, do that, more over the course of the season this year.
Yeah, I think the thing that scares me the most, though, is because even though last week he did put up the huge 125 and a touchdown, one of those came off a 98-yard catch and run play, though.
But that's what he does. That's what he does.
But that makes him boom or bust, though, which makes him hard to start, which is inconsistency.
No, but you're not going to find anybody on the waiver wire that is even close to that. You're not going to find anybody that's like boom or bust or not. You're not going to find anybody that's going to get you 20 points a game, whether he's boom or bust or not.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even though he is boom or bust to a certain extent, he did get 8 targets, and so he's at least getting good opportunity for boom, as opposed to a guy who gets 4 or 5 targets in a game. So.
We have one last question in the comments from Thomas H. Once again, thanks for your consistent viewership, my good sir. If you are streaming a quarterback this week, who do you pick up? Minshew, who had a bad week last week. Cousins, who had an awesome week last week. Stafford, Brissett. I don't know what your waiver wire looks like for quarterbacks, but that's not bad. So, Jared, I know you've been huge on a couple of these quarterbacks on various weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, I was on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon last week, but that was solely a Philadelphia thing, because Philadelphia has a great run defense and a terrible pass defense, and so I felt like game script plus opponent was going to match up pretty well there. This is kind of a tough one because I don't really trust Cousins again at Detroit. I don't really love Stafford all that much against Minnesota. So let's see. We've got Minshew and Brissett here. That is kind of tough. I was worried about Minshew last week because the Saints, Sean Payton's a pretty smart guy. I was afraid that Minshew was going to have sort of a down week, and he did. I think for me, it's got to be one of those two guys. It's got to be him or Jacoby. I think you can make a good enough case for Minshew playing the Bengals. That's who he's got this week, right?
I believe so. I think so.
Yeah. So you can make a case for him.
Come on.
I'm inclined to go with Jacoby.
Come on. It's smash that Jacoby button, man.
That's
not even a question for me.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, well there. Yeah, you go ahead. It took me a while to get around there. Apparently, you were already on that.
I mean, the Colts are playing the Texans.
Yeah,
the Texans are not a scary defense, especially against running quarterbacks. And Jacoby he with his running ability, he's improved his throwing ability and his chemistry with the team. Look, what's his name? T.Y. Hilton he has like an amazing history against Houston, just blowing up. I don't think he's had a bad game against Houston.
True. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
T.Y. Hilton, and guess who's throwing to T.Y. Hilton? Brissett. Smash that Brissett button.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Well, Thomas H., there's your go ahead for quarterbacks. It looks like Brissett is definitely going to be number one. But if your waiver priority doesn't work out, then Minshew's your number two.
Yeah.
Unless you have an affinity for mustaches, then go with Minshew.
Well, I mean, the danger, I think, with Jacoby is, and I mean, again, this is coming from a Colts fan. The Colts really try to protect him. He has, so in 3 of his 5 games this year, he's not passed for more than 190 yards. Now, how
many has he run for though?
That's the thing. He's not quite the running quarterback that you're I think thinking he is. Let's see. I can tell you here real quick. I mean, when he needs to scramble, he can. But the thing is, the Colts play this sort of quick pass offense. It's almost kind of like the Patriots, where they're trying to get the ball out quickly. And then just kind of like go down the field. So his rushing totals have been 9, 25, 4, 19, 9. So he had
that's like a floor of
in 3 out of those 5 games, he's not, that's like not a point worth of rushing yards.
It's about a point.
It's less than a point.
Extra point.
one extra point. If you're not throwing for 200 yards, you need to be running more than that. So that's the thing with Jacoby is he's just a little bit inconsistent with not with his throws necessarily. Like, I don't mean inconsistent in terms of like completion percentage, but just inconsistent in terms of like how much they're going to ask him to do, because if they can get away with running the ball, they're just going to, go straight to that and try to avoid throwing it. So,
and this is Chark week. So maybe back to Minshew.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It is Chark week. Yeah. So, that's maybe going to be one that I have to think about more until Saturday. For me, it's definitely one of those two. But I'm not sure. I'm not willing to commit fully to either one right now.
I love Brissett. I think it's going to be a huge game. And by huge, I mean like a lot bigger than Minshew, Cousins, or Stafford.
And Thomas H is supposed to trust you to Buddha, apparently?
No, where did Thomas H even get that from?
I mean,
No.
Washington didn't keep him. Washington's trouble.
Hey, how do you know I didn't turn them down?
Because I'm pretty sure you would have told us that. Hey, you didn't want to go to Washington.
Mr. Judah goes to Washington.
So I have another waiver wire. This is actually plugging a guy. I'm plugging Judah's guy here.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna plug.
I'm
gonna plug. If Hunter Henry is not available, if he's not available in your league, or you can't pick him up, I'm gonna plug Judah's guy, Ricky Seals Jones, because
how you like them apples? Last week he was number 2 tight end. Two of the last
3 weeks, he's been in double-digit points. He's week 4 against Baltimore, he had 82 and a touchdown. Last week he had 47 and a touchdown. Sandwiched in between those was a tough game against San Francisco. We'll let it slide because it was San Francisco.
It was that one game that was just crazy.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, Baker Mayfield didn't have time to get the ball to anybody. So Ricky Seals Jones, he had 6 targets, so that's better. That's it's a little more worrisome when he had, when he scored his points off of 3 in week 4 against Baltimore. Still, like, in the short term, I don't really love him because he's got, when they come back off the bye, he's got at New England, and then he's at Denver, Buffalo, and then Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh's pass defense is looking pretty good. So then, later towards the end of the season, just kind of like with all Browns, the schedule eases up a little bit. So, I think maybe if you want a guy that a tight end that, can come through for you later in the season or something, you could go ahead and pick him up. But in the short term, I don't know. But I will give Judah credit for that one.
Intriguing. So we're gonna probably wrap this up unless you guys have any more waiver wire pickups you're absolutely itching to say.
I'll plug. This isn't really like a huge secret, but I'll plug Darnold. Again, just for the same reasons that I said with Robbie Anderson. I mean, after this week, the passing defenses get pretty thin what he's facing. So, depending on who you have, if you've got, if you need a quarterback option, if you're in a 10-team league, I think he's out there in every single one of my 10-team leagues here.
Wow.
17 leagues. He's available in.
Arnold?
Yeah. So he's only 17% owned in Yahoo.
So what are the QBs on by this week, and what are the QBs on by next week? Because next week, I guess, is more pertinent because you'd want to use him against who's he playing next week?
So next week he's got Jacksonville, which is still not like super ideal, but I have to check real quick to see like
on by this week is Carolina, Tampa Bay. There's 4 teams.
So the Browns and Steelers are on by, but you're probably not rolling either one of those guys out.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, he's not a great option for this week, but you're probably
this week if you foresee needing him, like if your quarterback has a bye, I think,
weeks.
Yeah, in 1 or 2 week, he would be a good option.
Yeah. And again, I mean, you just never know. I mean, you never know what injuries are going to happen. So, I mean, I like, if I've got the luxury of it, to have a second quarterback if they've just got a better matchup where you don't have to worry about, can I get this guy off the waiver wire? Can I stream or whatever? So
this week is Carolina. It says Panthers, Browns, Steelers, and Buccaneers. Next week is Dallas Cowboys and Baltimore Ravens. That's most of my leagues.
Yeah.
Right. I have Dak and Lamar in almost every league.
Yeah.
I might be picking up Darnold tonight. And then week 9 is the Binado is week 10. Week 9 is pretty close. Those Atlanta, Cincinnati, Los Angeles, and New Orleans.
Yeah. Well,
Intriguing.
something to think about with week 8 buys is Matt Stafford is available in 42% of leagues. He's only 58% owned, and in week 8 he gets the Giants at home. So if you're solely looking for somebody in week 8, like Stafford's a pretty good option, I think.
So here's my question with your Sam Darnold pick. Would you take him over anyone like Minshew and Brissett that we saw this week?
For rest of season, yes.
Okay.
If you just need to win this week, there is no way I start Sam Darnold this week. But after this week, for sure, Darnold over just about anybody else on the waiver wire for me.
Intriguing. I totally agree. Judah, do you have anyone else you want to finish yourself off with?
Yeah, you know what's funny though is most of the players I'm looking at are Jets players. So I don't know how hard I want to go on Jets.
J-E-T-E Jets. Sorry.
I mean, because you still have all these Jets on the waiver wire. Like, I would say if you can, if Jamal Williams is on your waiver wire, I think he'd be a great pickup, at least for somebody. Yeah. Somebody just to slot in for your. You got somebody on bye. Maybe, I mean, there's a lot of running backs on bye this week and next. So
yeah,
might be somebody you could, if you're desperate, put in there. And I mean, even if you're not desperate, he got 20 points for Jared this week. So this past week. So
yeah, that's going to be sort of a hot hand situation there.
So do you think that kills Aaron Jones's status, though?
Well, I don't think it kills his status as much as just you're not going to know from week to week if you're going to get like 8 points or 17 or what. Aaron Jones is not. Again, I've tried to like unload Aaron Jones, and I didn't draft him in more than like maybe 3 leagues, and I actually just traded him. I had him in 2 leagues. I just traded him. Who did I trade? I traded him and OBJ for Tyreek and Derrick Henry.
Oh, wow.
So
that's not bad. That's nice.
Yeah, I'll take that. And which Henry didn't have a good game against the Broncos, but Tyreek Hill did. And so like rest of season, I'm good with that. But I've tried to get rid of Aaron Jones in my other league, and people won't take him. But yeah, I think it just makes it really unpredictable. I think, if you've got Jamal Williams or you can get him, then, like he's a great pickup because, I mean, he's going to give you, I think, roughly the same production as Aaron Jones for a guy that you're pulling off the waiver wire as opposed to a guy that you took in the 3rd or maybe early 4th round. And one other guy real quick that I'll say, and this is another kind of former Judah guy here that's kind of worked his way back onto the waiver wire here. But DK Metcalf.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah. So Will Dissly's right. Yeah, Will Dissly's out. And Metcalf wasn't really the beneficiary of that. Like Jerron Brown came out of nowhere and got 2 touchdowns for the Seahawks. Yeah. But Metcalf was catching more balls, and with him being a bigger target without Dissly there, you've just got to assume some more are going to come his way. He's got the Ravens, the Falcons, and the Bucks up next. So he's got a short-term pretty good schedule too. So I think if that's another one where, if you're in a 10-team league, I don't know if you've got enough space to start him. But if you're like in 12 or bigger and you're needing a guy, I think he could give you like a little 3-week punch or something.
2 guys I'd like to mention just real quick, 2 kickers, because
kickers, you have joined the kicking nation. It has finally happened.
I hate kickers, but buys, you need kickers just as much as anybody else. Gonzalez and look, the thing about Peterson coming back is they're going to be a better defense. And the coaches, I mean, narrative street, but the coaches are going to be, in my mind, more willing to to keep it close, to kick the 3 points instead of going for the long one. And Nugent already they already do that in Cardinals land. They're kicking like on. I think the other day they kicked the field goal on a 3 and 8 or something like that. Something
3rd and 8. My goodness.
Was it a 4 and 8? Yeah.
Something like that.
So I would say, 4 8. No, it was something crazy like 4 and 1. They often kick on 4.
They like to kick, yeah.
They like to kick the ball.
So Gonzalez, but also Nugent. Nugent's the guy who came in for the Patriots, and I know he's had kind of a rough start, but I foresee the Patriots. I mean, I don't foresee. I've seen the Patriots offense kind of sputter lately. And I think they are going to be relying more on field goals than than the beginning of the year.
Yeah, especially since Nugent has his history as a kicker. He's hits over 80% of his field goals. So if he makes them most of the time.
Yeah, he's not with Cincinnati. He's with
all right. My bad. That's his old team.
He was shaky. Like the only thing is, like, he was pretty shaky in that first game. Like, and maybe it was just one game jitters or something like that. But Gonzalez, I like Gonzalez. I've already I've been starting him in basically any league where I didn't have Zerline, Tucker, Butker, or Sly. If I had one of those 4 guys, I went with them. Otherwise, I went with Gonzalez because he's only had one game where he's had under 9 points. The rest of the time it's been like 9 to 14 to 15 points. So that's just kind of, I'll take that consistency.
Oh, yeah. Especially since if you look at it, he's the number 4 kicker as well in fantasy football. So if he's on there, that's a steal right now, especially if you're still hanging on to someone like Mason Crosby or Robbie Gould, who's honestly been underperforming.
Yeah. Do you guys real quick, can you name the top 10 or top 5 defenses?
The top 5 defenses?
Fantasy DSTs.
Scoring wise,
yeah.
Obviously New England.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, because I have a lot of these, or I think I do. So I'm going to say New England, Carolina, Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Pittsburgh
says, you got the
San Francisco's probably up there
2 and 4.
Yeah, San Francisco
tied for 2.
I don't know who the other one is.
Chicago.
Chicago's number 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Then it's Tennessee.
Wow.
New Orleans, Tennessee and New Orleans are tied for number 6. Then Minnesota,
8.
Philadelphia, and Green Bay.
That's not surprising.
It's surprising that the Bills are number 19.
Well, but they're you run into that sometimes where they're a good real life defense, but they're not necessarily a good fantasy scoring defense.
They get stops, not sacks.
What sucks for me is I have leagues where I don't know what I'm going to do with this, because I've got Sly as my kicker and I've got the Carolina and Pittsburgh defenses.
Not Pittsburgh. No, because
when they come back, they get Miami.
Oh, that's brutal.
Because you got to drop the Panthers. They're on bye, and when they come back, they have like
I think
somebody.
I think the 49ers somewhere early in there. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to drop Carolina, even though I hate to, because I mean they're doing so well. But I'm already going to have to. I've got to pick up a kicker and a defense. So it sucks. Yeah.
I was looking at next week. I've got no, it's this week. I've just written off. I'm not going to even do anything on waivers. I've got 6 people on bye.
Wow.
What?
Godwin, McCaffrey. It's like one of my best leagues too. So I'm just like, Godwin, McCaffrey. Who else is
Chubb? Chubb's on bye.
Chubb. Yeah, I got Chubb everywhere.
It's yours, Juju, maybe.
I gotta take a look. But anyways, we gotta go.
Well, while you're looking, real quick, Ethan McScruffenstein. I absolutely adore your last name.
That is a great name.
The question: is Tyler Boyd reliable in Week 7 against the Jaguars? Does anyone ask your question or just talk about their own league? Sheesh. Well, you're catching us at the end of the day, so we're kind of tired. But Is Tyler Boyd reliable in Week 7 against the Jaguars? Jared, what do you think?
You can't count on him. I mean, he may have a good game, but basically, I mean, just the Bengals are so bad. Their offensive line is so bad. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get from him week to week. So, Boyd's one of those guys for me where I think I have him in a couple leagues. If he's got just a golden matchup, I'm probably going to play him for that. But otherwise, if I've got something that I think is a little more surefire option, it's tough to know because I mean there are going to be games. I mean this past week, he just did nothing. So I think it depends on, like we always say, it depends on what your other options are. But I don't think you can, I don't think Jacksonville, even without Jalen Ramsey, is something you can necessarily count on him for sure.
Especially with AJ Green possibly coming back too.
Well, I don't know if that would necessarily hurt him that much because they really kind of split it pretty well. And even when John Ross was doing well earlier this year, they I think there's enough room in that Pittsburgh offense for two receivers to do well. I would be, with Jalen Ramsey out, I would be more inclined to trust him because you look at, I mean, he's had two really bad games, one against Pittsburgh, which their defense is good. That Ravens game last week, I didn't really get to see it, so I don't really know what all was going on there. But he's put up some good points. He's had two games of 10 receptions and 120 plus yards. He's getting double-digit targets in every week except for the two where he bombed. So you can't fully trust him, but he's a guy that you may have to roll out if you don't have a better option, and he's not a terrible option.
Yeah, Mr. Judah, what do you think?
Yeah, I would roll with him. He's asking whether to play Terry McScorin.
Yeah, McLaurin. Terry McLaurin.
Scary Terry.
Terry McScorin, baby, because that man scores.
Even though he is playing San Francisco, though, and this is Washington we're talking about.
I would say I would actually play.
I'd go Boyd. Yeah, if those are the choices. Yeah.
Even though I don't know, Terry's on a tear.
Yeah.
And I think skill wise he is legit and might be able to overcome a tough defense. Maybe if it's just getting 100 yards.
That's a lot of yards on a tough defense, especially if you're going up against a good number one.
I like how he said that. Maybe he only gets 100 yards. Maybe only 2 touchdowns.
Well, the thing is, I think I heard someone talk about the 49ers defense is not. It's either they keep you from getting touchdowns or keep you getting yards, but it's not both.
They did both against the Rams.
Oh yeah,
last week.
But that's against Goff. But yeah, of course, it's not like.
Yeah, I mean,
and they have Richard Sherman too. Good point.
I mean, for me, the thing is not really so much worrying about can Terry beat that defense. Is that can the quarterback who's throwing him the ball ever have enough time to get the ball to him?
Who's starting for what? Do we know for sure?
I haven't even read anything this week to see who's starting, but honestly,
I think we can assume it's Case Keenum, right?
On their depth chart, he's number 1 right now.
Does it matter? I mean,
yeah, I think it does. Because Case Keenum will air. He is like courageous, man, and he will air it out. And I mean, I don't know, man. Compared to Dalton, who he is likely to throw a long one to Boyd, but Case Keenum, he's fearless against even tough defenses.
True, but do you think it's still someone you'd start McLaurin even if he had Keenum over Tyler Boyd when McLaurin's going up against Richard Sherman in San Francisco?
Who are the Bengals playing again?
They're playing
Jags.
Oh yeah, the Jags. I don't know. I think it's probably. It could very well be just a wash. Both of them get 10 points.
I go Boyd.
Yeah,
I go Boyd.
there.
It's just the matchup for me. I just don't know how many. I like Richard Sherman doesn't scare me. It's just like, does Case Keenum, is he going to have enough time behind that line to really?
There you go.
So, but it's just tough to get that out of my memory of them just pulverizing Baker Mayfield. So.
Also, really quick before we move on to Samuel Wilson's question, Ethan says also thoughts on Gallup for the rest of the season. Jared, I know you're a big Gallup fan. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him. I'm not sure how he's going to do if he has to be the guy with Amari Cooper out of there, but yeah, I like him. Let's see, just looking through their matchups here, he had, I guess, his worst game. I know he's missed 2 games, but he had his worst game against the Jets last week. He gets Philadelphia this week, then they have a bye, and then he gets the Giants. Then after that, like his schedule gets a little bit rough. I think he's solid because he's going to give you some games, throughout the season, but he's got some tough matchups in there where I don't think he's going to.
Who do you think is a tough matchup?
Okay, so
Vikings?
All right, so he's got
Patriots.
So he's got the Patriots. It's in New England. I don't think that Cowboys offense is going to do much of anything. Buffalo, again, we said, Buffalo's not the best fantasy defense, but in terms of real world defense, they're pretty good at holding you down. Chicago, at Chicago is going to be a tough one. The Rams, I'm not sure what their cornerback situation is going to look like by the time they get done. But I mean, there's a couple of ones in there, like where Minnesota, Xavier Rhodes is probably going to be on Amari Cooper, assuming Amari Cooper's in. But I think there's just some different factors like that where we don't really know Cooper's health and things like that. So I like Gallup, but
let's see how much you like him. Would you trade him or would you play him over, let's say, like Larry Fitzgerald?
Yeah, because Larry always kind of slows down as the season goes along. Every year he starts out pretty good, and then that all right, 35 plus body starts catching up to him.
Here's one that's closer. It's probably harder. Cortland Sutton.
Oh, so no, that one's easier for me. Sutton.
Really?
He's the number 10 wide receiver right now in fantasy football, period.
Number 11. Yeah.
What worries me about Sutton, the only thing that worries me about Sutton is if they go to this youth movement later in the season, maybe they bench Joe Flacco for Drew Lock. So that would be the thing that would worry me about Sutton. But
what about over Terry McScorin?
That's a tough one too, because the Redskins are probably going to try to go to Haskins maybe later in the season.
Yeah.
And I do not trust him at all. So it's just one of these things where there's just so many. There's just all of these guys. Like if they kept Flacco, if the Redskins kept Keenum, I'd easily feel better about Sutton and McLaurin, but I think there's some other factors in there that could come into play later on in the season.
Here's a crazy one for both you guys. Odell Beckham.
Do I like Gallup?
Am I getting or giving Gallup?
You're getting Gallup.
No.
Yeah, probably
no.
You still stick with Odell?
I would still stick with Odell in that case, but I mean, like I've traded Odell again in a one-on-one for Kenny Golladay.
Yeah.
And I traded him in a package deal for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So it's not that I love OBJ and really want to keep him, but it's like, what's your bottom price that you're willing to pay?
But would you bench him until you see something from Odell, or would you if you have both of them on your team?
For me, it's going to be about the week to week matchup for Odell. So I felt like he was probably going to have a bounce back game against Seattle. And he did. 13 points isn't crazy, but it's a lot better than what he had. It's he had more yards in that one game than he had over the last 3 games combined. So, but he's got
tough matchups.
He's got some tough matchups, and it's going to be later in the season before he's really useful to you. He's got New England up next. He's got Denver after that. He's got Buffalo. He's got Pittsburgh. Then he's got Miami, but then he's got Pittsburgh again. And so I would try to get more. I think you can still get more for OBJ than Michael Gallup. Like, again, I got Tyreek Hill and I got Kenny Golladay.
But you play with blind old men, dude. Come on.
No, most of my leagues, I'm getting frustrated because I'm offering guys good trades, and it's teams that like don't have a tight end, and I've got 3 tight ends, and I'm like just asking for like a little receiver upgrade or something, and then they come back with like wanting my star wide receiver and my star running back in exchange for like a mid-level wide receiver or something.
No.
So I either play with like super gullible people or just guys guys who can't help themselves. Like they don't even know what is
blind old men.
Yeah, it's like people get paranoid at some point. Like I've almost like if I was just in a free league, I would start like messing around with people to see like how much I could offer them where they'd still be like, like if I could just like psych them out, if I could offer them like Tyreek Hill and Dalvin Cook for like Julian Edelman, and they'd be like, no, I also want Zach Ertz. Like I think we would get like some of those offers where they think you're trying to trick them somehow, and they're like, no, I won't take that. I want more from you. It's just weird. It's weird.
What about you, Jay, real quick? What are your thoughts on
Gallup.
Odell and Gallup?
Okay. Here's the thing with Odell and Gallup. Yes, Odell is going to get a lot of tougher matchups down the stretch. Gallup, he's going to be insane, I think, against the Giants. That's who he blew up against in his first week. But then after that, you're going up against the Xavier Rhodes in Minnesota. I mean, unless Cooper comes back then, which is still up in the air. And then later New England, then later Buffalo, then later Chicago. And then if what's his name? If Aqib Talib works well with Jalen Ramsey, then they've got the Rams going up. And then you have Philly to finish with, which isn't a great matchup. But both of them are just really inconsistent. And here's the thing, Dallas hasn't been performing great against really good defenses, but they've been performing decently. Like they can pass, they're close. Cleveland is a mess right now. I don't know what is up with them. So if I'm more confident in for the rest of the season, I'd probably say Gallup just because he could probably be better. But on whether I'm trading, I would ask for someone more than Odell because, first off, just the name Odell means something. His history means something. To a lot of people, Gallup is this guy who's come in, had a couple great games, and could plummet the rest of the year for all.
It's more of a thought. Yeah, it's more of a thought experience. I don't think anybody that would be a practical trade, but like it just floored me that when I thought about the difference between Gallup and Odell on a purely practical basis, not a lot of difference.
I actually got an offer. I got an offer of Julian Edelman and Melvin Gordon for Odell and Josh Jacobs. But I don't really want to give up Jacobs for Melvin Gordon because I'm not sure that would actually be an upgrade. So I'm thinking about just like counter offering, like giving up like somehow Odell for Edelman. Like Edelman is just ultra consistent if he stays healthy,
Yeah, also, I'd take Edelman.
We have a couple really quick things really fast. Sammy Wilson, thank you for being super, super patient with his question. He said he is in a big conundrum trying to trade for Deshaun Jackson. I'm trading Dak and either John Brown, Fitz, or Woods for Djax.
Wait, what?
I think he's trading Dak and either John Brown, I think Fitz
for Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't
know. Deshaun Jackson's no,
he's still, I don't know if they've set I'm sure he's coming back somewhat soon.
Maybe did he mean Lamar Jackson?
I think he means Deshaun, right?
Yeah, that's Djax. Yeah. And he says D Jackson earlier. So that's definitely Deshaun.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's probably doing it based off of that 31 point week 1, but I'm not sure if he's even, let's see. Okay. So he's hopeful. So they're hopeful that maybe he'll be back this week, but I just don't fall in love with that week one. He's not. I mean, he's a speedy little boomer bust wide receiver. I mean,
John Brown has a better schedule going after. I think from here on out, John Brown is a better player.
Yeah, I don't know that I would trade Brown 1-on-1 for Deshaun Jackson, let alone him and Dak both.
Fits either, man. That team's getting going.
Yeah. Okay, so I would trade Woods for Jackson. So he says, but I probably wouldn't do like Dak plus Woods,
way.
So, but if you can get away with like giving up Woods plus,
I'd give up Woods.
I'd do that because I don't think Woods has any huge value unless Cooper Kupp or Brandon Cooks gets hurt. So
I'm a Woods owner. It's been frustrating.
Yeah, it's been rough. Yeah.
And he said he's basing his Deshaun Jackson on his 2018.
No, don't do that, man. He will have some big games, but so will all the other guys you're talking about. Like Brown will have big games too coming up. They got a really good schedule.
Yeah, and I mean his 2018 season wasn't
that great.
It was okay, but
it was mainly good when he was with Fitzpatrick. Actually, Fitzpatrick would just bomb it to him at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean 770 over 12 games. He had 774 yards and 4 touchdowns. You project that over a full season, you're looking at maybe 1,000, close to.
He got that offer.
Oh,
the trigger now. Now.
If you're trading Djax, get rid of him.
Oh yeah, if somebody's offering, yeah.
Incredible. Also, Ethan McScruffenstein asks, how do you think Saquon will come back after his injury? Samuel Wilson thinks he'll be Zeke level floor. What do you guys think?
Oh, wait, better. Yeah, Zeke level floor. Yeah. They've got a great schedule.
They do. Yeah, he's got. I keep trying to trade for Saquon because he's got his fantasy playoffs are the Dolphins and Redskins. And I mean in between that he's got Arizona, Detroit, Dallas, Jets. He's got a Cardinals in there. He's got a Eagles in there, but
I ain't worried about them.
Well, I don't think he's going to ball out against them, but I mean just for those fantasy playoffs, and I think he's going to have above Zeke level floor. Zeke is just not quite he's not he's got a high floor, but he's not balling out really in any games this year.
All right, well, we gotta go. I gotta go.
Yeah. We gotta run. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in. Now this is going to end us off. You get 30 seconds, each of you. Thursday night, Chiefs are playing Denver. Are any of the Bronx we're starting? Jared, go ahead. You got 30 seconds.
I go with Phillip Lindsay and Cortland Sutton. I pretty much always like Sutton unless it's some lockdown matchup. And the Chiefs' run defense is horrid. Like I might even play if you're in a pinch. I would feel not terrible about playing Royce Freeman. So so I like Lindsay and Cortland Sutton for sure. And if you're in a pinch, Royce Freeman too.
There you go. Judah Buddha, anyone?
Smash the running backs. Look, the way to beat Kansas, they've proven the last 3 games, slowing Kansas down. Don't let them touch the ball. Lindsay and I guarantee you, Lindsay and Royce Freeman are going to have huge games.
Wow.
Sutton too. I'd throw them all in there.
Yeah, interesting. So any Kansas City running backs you guys think? Any
yes.
Shady?
Look,
Damian?
He's going to Shady early and often. Damon, no, he's junk. I'd drop him.
Okay. Interesting.
I would drop him. I lied. I'm being
trade
too.
him.
You can't trade him, but he's probably sitting on my bench.
Anyway.
Yeah. I give him a week to see what they're going to do. Broncos, I don't know. They shut down Derrick Henry last week, but they just got torched by Leonard Fournette, a week before that. So if I've got a better option, if I've got a safer option than one of the Chiefs, I use that. But, if you have to roll with them, I mean, it's at least a high scoring offense. So,
yep. And can you trust any of the Chiefs wide receivers other than Reek the Freak? Jared, anyone?
Not unless you're in a deeper league. I wouldn't play, Hardman or Robinson. They're big play guys, so they could come up with something big for you. But it's kind of like 4 balls and 70 yards. The way wide receiver is this year, you can probably find somebody better than that. So I wouldn't. The only way I would do it, kind of rest of season, would be if Sammy Watkins, who's always hurt, kind of stays down for the rest of the year, and then somebody's got more of a, like maybe a Hardman has more, playing time and opportunities, and has, more of a chance to develop into that sort of number 2 role.
Yep. Judah Buddha, anyone real quick?
Yeah, if Watson is 100%, I would Watson.
Watson?
Mahomes? Watkins. If Watkins is 100%, I would do. Watkins has had a great history against Denver, and this could be his big smash play. How he has been due for one since week 1.
Intriguing. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts on that, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. From Rag Evolution to Thomas H, Two Visions, thanks for subscribing. AV, Ethan McScruffenstein, and
love
Sam
that name.
Wilson. Thank you guys all for tuning in.
Yeah.
And do not forget, ladies and gentlemen, it's Chark Week, and we will be here on Saturday, 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern, to talk more about Stardom Siddums. We will be here for you. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. I'm AJ Herschel. Yes.
Good luck on the waiver wire. Yeah.
Good luck on the waiver wire. Absolutely. I'm AJ Herschel. That's Jared. Wait, no, that's Jared. That's Judah Buddha. And that up there is the StreamYard Duck. We'll see you next time.